There's a real conversation happening right now around the Los Angeles Lakers, and it revolves around something nobody expected to be this big of a concern: the three-point shot of LeBron James. For years, the story with LeBron from deep has followed a familiar rhythm. He would go through cold stretches that made you question everything, then suddenly flip the switch and look automatic for weeks at a time. It was always a roller coaster, but by the end of the season, the numbers usually balanced out around 37 or 38%. This season, though, that balancing act has not shown up. The struggles have not been subtle. His attempts from beyond the arc are sitting at their lowest volume in a long time, hovering under 5 per game, and the efficiency has dipped to just over 31%, even after a strong night against the Golden State Warriors where he knocked down 4 of 6 from deep. Think about that for a second. A performance where he shot well over 60% in a single game barely nudged his overall percentage. That tells you how steep the climb has been. Context matters, and in this case, it matters a lot. LeBron made it clear during the offseason that he dedicated serious time to refining his catch and shoot three. The vision was obvious. With Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves expected to shoulder more on ball creation, LeBron anticipated playing more minutes off the ball. That meant spacing the floor, relocating to open windows, and punishing defenses for collapsing on dribble penetration. On paper, it made perfect sense. In reality, circumstances derailed that plan before it even had a chance to breathe. Missing training camp, preseason, and the opening stretch of the regular season because of a nagging nerve issue robbed him of rhythm. Shooters talk all the time about repetition, about building muscle memory through thousands of controlled reps. When that routine gets interrupted, especially at this stage of career, it is not as simple as flipping a switch. The early part of the season became a ramp-up period instead of a launch point, and while patience was justified in those first weeks, the calendar keeps moving. At some point, ramp-up time turns into urgency. And urgency is exactly what this Lakers roster needs from him. Because when LeBron is even a respectable threat from three-point range, the geometry of the floor changes instantly. Right now, opposing defenses are comfortable shading toward the paint. They stunt, they fake closeout, they throw a hand up without fully committing. They are essentially daring him to fire away, willing to live with a low 30s percentage. In playoff-level basketball, that is a dangerous place to be if you are the offense. Imagine the difference if that percentage climbs back toward the high 30s over the final stretch of the season. Not season-long numbers, but from this point forward. Suddenly defenders cannot cheat as aggressively. Closeouts become real. And when closeouts become real against LeBron, that is when the real damage begins. Because now he is attacking a rotating defender instead of a set one. Now he is driving into gaps rather than bodies. Now, the help defense has to collapse with urgency, and that opens the weak side. That ripple effect benefits everyone. When Luka is orchestrating, drawing two defenders above the break, and kicking to the wing, a confident LeBron becomes a decisive option instead of a hesitant one. When Reeves snakes through a screen and forces the big to step up, the kick out to the corner carries weight if the man standing there is shooting near 40%. The entire offense breathes differently. It is not just about LeBron either. The Lakers' overall three-point inconsistency often traces back to their primary creators. When Luka, LeBron, and Reeves combine for the majority of the attempts and two of the three are cold, the math becomes unforgiving. Even if role players are efficient in smaller doses, volume matters. If the top options are misfiring, the team percentage will sink with them. There are lineups that could look devastating if the shooting stabilizes. Picture a unit featuring Reeves, LeBron, Rui Hachimura, and Luke Kennard spaced around a vertical threat like Jackson Hayes or a skilled big such as DeAndre Ayton. If LeBron is hovering near 38% in that scenario, defenders are stretched to their limits. You have floor spacing on the wings, vertical spacing at the rim, and multiple secondary playmakers capable of attacking a scrambling defense. That is when LeBron's basketball intelligence becomes overwhelming. He has always processed the game a step ahead, reading help defenders before they commit, manipulating rotations with his eyes and body language. But those reads become exponentially more dangerous when the defender guarding him cannot sag. If you crowd him because he has already hit a couple of threes, he will drive through your chest. If you give him airspace, he will rise comfortably into rhythm. The indecision he forces on defenders is often more damaging than the shot itself. There's also a psychological layer to this. Shooters thrive on confidence, and confidence is built on makes. A stretch of consistent production from beyond the arc would not only alter scouting reports, it would alter the internal belief system of the team. Teammates cut harder when they trust the kick-out threat. Bigs roll with more force when they know the weak side defender cannot tag as aggressively. Even transition opportunities expand because defenders are reluctant to leave shooters unattended on the perimeter. The Lakers are already generating a high number of open looks, partly because of the gravitational pull of their stars. The issue has been converting those opportunities at a reliable rate. If LeBron's shot begins to fall with regularity, it becomes a stabilizing force. It reduces the offensive droughts that can swing momentum in tight games. It prevents opponents from packing the paint late in quarters. It gives the coaching staff more flexibility in late-game play calls because spacing becomes less of a gamble. And when you think about postseason basketball, where possessions slow down and scouting becomes hyper-detailed, having that version of LeBron is the difference between a good offense and a terrifying one. Playoff defenses are ruthless about exploiting weaknesses. If they sense hesitation from a shooter, they will test it repeatedly. But if the tape shows a steady stream of catch-and-shoot threes going down, the strategy shifts. Rotations tighten. Closeouts sharpen. That split second of extra respect can be the window needed for a drive, a dump-off pass, or a swing to the opposite corner. All of this circles back to one simple reality. The Lakers do not need LeBron to lead the league in three-point percentage. They need him to be consistent enough that ignoring him is no longer an option. They need the shot to look and feel like it belongs again. Because if that happens, the dominoes start falling in their favor. The floor stretches from sideline to sideline, and the offense evolves into something far more difficult to contain as the intensity of the season continues to rise and the margins grow thinner with every possession played under brighter lights. There have been stretches recently where you can see the mechanics starting to settle. The release looks smoother, the elevation more balanced, the follow-through more confident. Those details matter. Shooting is rhythm and repetition, but it is also comfort. When a player hesitates for even half a second, defenders sense it. When a shot goes up decisively, even before it drops, it changes the energy on the floor. Teammates start cutting with more purpose because they believe the pass will lead to points. The bench reacts differently. Momentum builds more naturally. Another layer to this is how it impacts the dynamic between LeBron and Luka Doncic. Luka thrives when the floor is spaced properly. His ability to manipulate pick and roll coverage is elite, but it becomes almost unfair when the weak side help cannot fully commit. If LeBron is positioned on the wing and defenders know he is converting at a high rate, that low man hesitates just long enough. That hesitation opens the lob, or the skip pass, or the pocket feed. A half step in the wrong direction against Luka is usually the beginning of the end for a defensive possession. The same applies to Austin Reaves, whose game is built on craft and timing. Reaves is not overpowering defenders physically on every drive. He relies on angles, footwork, and deception. For him, space is oxygen. When defenders feel comfortable digging down from the perimeter because they're not afraid of the kick out, his path to the rim becomes cluttered. But if LeBron is hitting that catch and shoot three consistently, those dig downs become risky. Now the defense must choose between conceding a driving lane or surrendering a clean look from deep. It also influences how opponents scheme in crunch time. Late in close games, teams simplify their coverage. They switch more. They shrink the floor. They dare certain players to beat them from specific spots. If LeBron's outside shot is unreliable, the scouting report becomes straightforward. Sag off just enough to clog the lane and trust that contested threes will not swing the game. But if the recent trend shows him knocking down multiple perimeter shots per night, that strategy loses its appeal. Coaches are forced to adjust on the fly, and those adjustments can unravel carefully prepared game plans. There's a physical benefit as well. When defenders must close out hard, LeBron can conserve energy by picking his spots. He does not need to barrel into the paint every time to impose his will. A pump fake, one dribble to the side, and a balanced jumper can accomplish the same scoreboard impact without the same physical toll. Over the course of a long season and into the intensity of the postseason, that conservation matters. Fresh legs translate into sharper decisions and stronger finishes in the moments that define series. You can already see glimpses of what this offense looks like when the ball pops around the perimeter and shots fall in rhythm. The pace quickens, not necessarily in transition, but in decision speed. Swing, swing, extra pass, open look. Those sequences demoralize opponents because they're the product of trust and spacing. When LeBron is a reliable release valve beyond the arc, he becomes both a finisher and a connector. He can initiate a set, relocate, receive the return pass, and deliver the dagger without the possession ever feeling forced. Defensively, it creates indirect advantages too. Made shots allow the Lakers to set their defense more consistently. They can apply pressure earlier in the clock, dictate matchups, and avoid scrambling cross matches that happen after long rebound from missed threes. A steadier perimeter attack reduces volatility. Instead of trading rushed attempts for run outs the other way, the game slows to their preferred tempo. What makes this stretch so pivotal is timing. As the season edges closer to the playoffs, habits solidify. Rotations tighten. Players settle into roles. If LeBron reestablishes himself as a dependable perimeter option now, that confidence carries into the most meaningful games. Teammates internalize it. Opponents prepare for it. The margin between winning and losing in postseason basketball is razor thin, often defined by 1 or 2 possessions per game. A single extra made 3 each night from a player of his caliber can tilt that balance dramatically. There is also the intangible leadership element. When a veteran of his stature commits to refining a specific part of his game and begins to show tangible improvement, it resonates in the locker room. Younger players see the work translate. The message becomes clear that adjustments are not optional, they are necessary. That collective mindset can elevate practice intensity, film study focus, and late-game execution. The narrative around his shooting does not need to swing to extremes. It does not require him to suddenly become the most feared sniper in the league. It simply needs to trend upward in a way that commands respect. Once defenses respect the shot, the chain reaction begins. Closeouts accelerate. Rotations stretch. Passing lanes widen. The offense regains its intended balance between inside pressure and perimeter punishment. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, what began as a low murmur behind closed doors has quickly grown into the kind of whisper that makes front offices nervous and fans restless. According to multiple league sources, Kevin Durant has quietly accepted the idea of a new chapter, a development that has sent shockwaves through internal circles of NBA. Nothing has been announced, nothing has been signed, yet the mere confirmation that Durant is open to a significant change has been enough to tilt the balance of conversations across the league. Executives describe a sudden shift in tone. Calls that once felt routine are now laced with urgency. Teams that believed their long-term plans were stable are reassessing timelines, assets, and ambitions. Durant's name, even mentioned softly, has that effect. He represents not just elite talent, but a gravitational force capable of altering power structures overnight. Insiders suggest this is not about dissatisfaction in the traditional sense, but about alignment, legacy, competitiveness, and the pursuit of an environment that maximizes the final prime years of a generational career. What makes the situation even more volatile is the discretion involved. Those close to Durant insist the acceptance is philosophical rather than procedural. In other words, the door is open, and in today's NBA, an open door is often all it takes. Front offices are known to prepare scenarios long before reality catches up, and this time is no different. Analysts privately speculate about domino effects, wondering which franchises are positioning themselves quietly and which are merely posturing. Fans, meanwhile, are left reading between the lines. Social media buzzes with theories, coded messages, and sudden optimism in unlikely markets. The league has seen rumors before, but veterans around the NBA ecosystem admit this one feels different. There's a sense that something has already shifted, even if it cannot yet be seen. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.